We do have one of the world famous um, trainers on the call with us tonight, Miss Melissa Wilder. And if you have never heard her, you will be, it's one of those times I can promise you by the end of the call, you'll go, gosh, I wish I had more of my people on. So take the time to do that now. You know, Legal Shield has so many incredible things happening right now, you know, from our performance family, our performance family, yes, our phenomenal performance family. This is call number 1085 for the performance family. So congratulations to each and every one of you. Many of you have been on many of those calls, and so we welcome you to the 1085th call of the performance family. But Legal Shield has so many exciting things happening with Performance Club right now. Our new Fast Start bonuses, of course, when you Fast Start qualify in your first 20 days, that $300 bonus that you're earning when you go to that Fast Start class, which is phenomenal. I've talked to several people around the country who've been training those Fast Start classes and got a lot of interactive features in those classes now, making them much more powerful for you if you have not been in a few months, and as well as for your new people. Make sure you get those plugged in. And of course, an additional $500 bonus at that manager level when they get qualified for manager in their first 45 days, along with, of course, the new certificate, the new pin that comes with that, which is the Future Leaders of Legal Shield pin, the certificate that comes with that, just because we know manager is the core rank of Legal Shield, because once you've learned the skills that you need to get to that manager rank, which means you've brought someone else on, you've helped them launch their business successfully, help them advance to that senior associate. If you continue to simply duplicate those few skills, you can build as large a business here as you want to. And so while those things seem to be very small, Performance Club, getting someone Fast Start qualified, getting them to manager, they are everything that we do in this business. And so just be focused on those things. Take advantage of everything that corporate has to offer. You know, everything we do, everything up the food chain, whether you're trying to qualify for senior director, executive director, qualify for this phenomenal trip we're going to have to the Riviera Maya next summer, regardless of what it is, it's all in those simple core building blocks that you need to focus on. And so be aware, always have your new flyers of all the new promotions that are going on, so that you can share those with the new people that you bring on board in your business for them to be able to take advantage of those things. But that's all I'm going to cover right now, because I do want to give as much time of our call tonight as we can to the phenomenal Miss Melissa Wilder. Now, this woman I have had the pleasure of knowing for years. She has actually attended several of our team events through the years and done special trainings for us. But of course, over the last, I guess now 18 months, we have served as, she has served as chairwoman. I've served as co-chair for the Ladies of Justice Committee, which has been a blessing. But of course, she's a $300,000 ring earner, Millionaire Club member. I think she sold personally 7,000, 8,000 memberships, 10,000, 10,000 personal memberships. So when you have someone like that on the phone, do you think you could learn something from them? So get your pens ready, get your paper ready, because this woman's going to share some phenomenal training with us, and we're just excited and blessed to have you on. Miss Melissa Wilder, thank you for joining us on the Performance Family Call tonight, and I'm going to turn the call over to you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Gardner, and thank you for having me. I'm always excited to be on this team call. I look at all the names on the participants list, and I'm like, well, that's my friend, that's my friend, that's my friend, that's my family, that's my family. And so I'm excited to be here. I feel like I'm actually really, really part of this family, and I always feel welcome when I'm with this team. So thank you. And you know, I think one of the things that's really necessary for us to talk about, and something, Elizabeth, that you had texted me, really is the stickiness of this business. You know, we work hard, really, really work hard day to day, going out there and trying to share our story. right? We work hard at sharing our story with friends, with family, but then once we go beyond that warm market, now we're adding that other layer to our business, which is our prospecting layer, right? And that prospecting and follow-up and the prospecting and follow-up to finally get them to hear our story and finally be empowered with our service. And so because we work so hard in getting the ability or having the ability to share a story, one of the things that I think is really important for us to understand is getting them to understand the true value in so many elements, so that because you've done so much work on the front end, that when you do finally empower that family, it sticks, it stays. And not only are they empowered, right, for their family, for hopefully the rest of their lives, but then you, of course, are also empowered financially by serving them, by working and getting them to understand the power with your residual income, which obviously outlives us, right? It's willable. And so that's really what I want to share with you here this evening, is talk about some retention, the stickiness. And I know that we have a lot of opportunity going on with the company. I mean, when you really take a look, if you just sit back and take a look at all of not just our commission, but the incentives and the contest and all the things that we have to be able to really be compensated for the work we do, it's mind-blowing, right? And I know that sometimes, and believe me, I've done it too, we can get caught up in, oh, I just need one more sale because I just have to hit this, or I just have to hit that. And yes, we want you to hit those goals. Yes, we want you to hit the incentives, but we don't want you to actually just do your business based on hitting those. We want you really to understand the impact of placing a membership in somebody's family, in somebody's household, right? So let's start with the end in mind. When you're out there sharing with people our story, the empowerment of what we do, I always want you to think about the end in mind. And that end in mind should be able to in your mind, say to you, I'm blessing this family. I'm empowering this family. They're going to get value. I'm going to get great commission, but guess what? The winner in this whole equation is the value that we've placed, right, as a membership for that family. They're always going to get more value than what we get paid in commission. That's just how I see it. And that's why I get so excited when I'm talking to them. And so if you're taking notes, put that down. Start with the end in mind. I want this family to never be without this membership. I want this business to never be without this membership. The other thing I want you to write down is set realistic expectations. And this is so important. There's different, I want to say, components to setting realistic expectations, but one of the main things, okay, in setting the realistic expectations is when you're sharing our story. I hope you're sharing it by stories. I hope you're not sharing it by like just features and benefits. But when you're sharing our story, okay, talk about sometimes the good and the bad. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by this. I'll never forget, Elizabeth, this was years ago, but I knew I was so frustrated about a situation that was happening to me and Eddie, to my husband and I. And I just knew, because in my mind, I knew it was logical that they were doing something wrong to me. And I want to let y'all know, the law is not logical, it's just legal, meaning sometimes it just doesn't make sense, right? And so I called the law firm, very adamant about, hey, this is what's happening to me and my husband. I need your help in helping me solve this problem. And tell me what it is, Melissa. So I go through this laundry list of things that how bad these people were treating me and blah, blah, blah. At the end of it, he says, well, Melissa, he says, quite frankly, there's not a lot you can do about this. There's not a lot of laws that will protect you with this. And I was like, what do you mean? Now understand, I feel wronged, right? Something in my gut says this isn't right. Something in my head is saying this doesn't make sense. But the attorney says to me, he can't help me. And it was mind-boggling to me because I just knew I was right. Now, I don't know if any of you have been in these situations, but I can guarantee you what, some of your members will be in these situations, okay? And I said to him, and I'm going to share this with you. It's embarrassing, but I'm going to share it with you. I said to him, what? Are you serious? There's nothing you could do for me? I said, do you know I'm a regional vice president for prepaid legal? Do you know I'm a group vice president? Like that was going to change the law. Okay. And he laughed and he said, Melissa, he said, I know, hon. He says, but it's not going to change the law. So I hung up the phone frustrated. Now understand me, family. When I hung up that phone frustrated, I was mad at prepaid legal. And I was in the game of prepaid legal. I was already making 6 figures with prepaid legal, but I was upset. And it was almost in my mind like one of my members saying to me, this service doesn't work. And I had to take a deep breath and think about that for a second. I was like, wow, my expectations were something different than really what the law could do to protect me, right? And after I calmed down about it, I called over to Ross and Matthews and I talked to Lynn Ross and I said, Lynn, I have to tell you something. He started laughing. He said, Melissa, we already know the whole law firm is talking about you. We're all laughing at you, okay? But what that gave me, family, was an aha moment. Like, wow, if that happened to me, how many times has it happened to one of our members and they just weren't prepared for that? So that one little learning lesson made me change my whole presentation, where I would say to Elizabeth, listen, Elizabeth, what I love about this plan is the ability to pick up my phone, tap the app. Anytime there's something in my gut says it feels wrong, my head says it says wrong, that it just doesn't make sense, I can tap the app and I can get my legal advice. So I know what to do, I know what not to do. And listen, sometimes you may not always get the answer you want to hear, Elizabeth, but guess what you'll get? You'll get the legal answer to protect your rights. And one thing that I know I'm happy about is that I only pay $24.95 to get that answer, as opposed to going and paying $250 an hour to get that same answer, because the law is the law. So the empowerment is knowing what my rights are, and sometimes even what my rights may not be in situations, but I always know I have it in the palm of my hands. So understanding that even your maybe negative feeling can be a positive in the conversations. And so, like I said, I never talk about the advice without saying, listen, you'll always get the legal advice. Sometimes it may not be always what you want to hear, but thank goodness you know what your rights are in those situations. Does that make sense, Elizabeth? I mean, that to me, it helped me so much. I mean, just really understanding the communication part of it, okay? So start with the end in mind, set realistic expectations with those that you're having conversations about the service with. The other thing I want to talk to you about, if you're taking notes, is understanding that we're not a shelf product. We don't want to be a shelf product. And you would say, Ms. Water, what are you talking about? Okay. I'm sure many of you have heard someone say, I'll get it, but I hope I never have to use it. Oh. They're thinking of us like insurance. I have car insurance because either I have to, but I sure don't want to use it. I have homeowners insurance. I sure don't want to use it, but if I need to, I can pull it off the shelf and use it. Same way with, your homeowners, your homeowners, your car insurance, your health insurance. Now, hopefully you never have to use your life insurance, right? That's not a given. But that's how they kind of think of us sometimes, like, oh, you're kind of like a legal insurance. Okay, what we have to do quickly when someone says, Melissa, you know what? I want to get this, but I hope I never have to use it. I put on the brakes. Like, I immediately put on the brakes. And I say, well, listen, we are not a shelf product. We're not an insurance product where you don't want to use it. Like, if you're concerned using it will increase your premiums because of usage, or if you're afraid to use it because you think that, you're going to get it canceled for usage like all those other insurances, we are so far different. This is a product we place into your house so that you get day-to-day value. Meaning, as life happens, this is the product you want to always have in your fingertips, never on a shelf. And I have walked away from business. I have actually stopped people from enrolling. Now, I know this may sound funny, or weird, but I've actually said, hey, listen, whoa, wait a second, Elizabeth. If you're just going to get this just in case, you're getting it for reactive and defensive situations. And so I haven't explained this to you about being more proactive and preventive in your life. You know, when you have a warranty issue, a consumer issue, when you just have a question, or Lord forbid you have a moving violation, you know, just living life, things happen, right? If you don't understand the value of that, then this plan really isn't for you, because the traditional legal system is waiting for you for those reactive and defensive situations. This is for you to bring empowerment and being proactive and preventive. And it's amazing, when I first started doing it, it felt weird because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm giving up sales. And I quickly found out, family, I wasn't. What ended up happening, people were like, really? Like, you would actually tell me not to get this if you thought I was just going to put it on a shelf, as you said. And I said, absolutely. Because I don't want to be just the bill. I want to bring your family value. Because if I'm not bringing you value and you go through your budget and I'm just the bill, I'm going to be the first thing you cancel. And so it's our job to get them to understand the true value. Now, one thing that I challenged myself to do years ago, and it really, really helped me, family, was I challenged myself to use the membership at least once a month. And you say, oh my gosh, Melissa, were you a bad person? How did that happen? How could you use them that much? Well, the first thing that I started thinking about was just life. So I said, okay, what is it that I deal with in everyday life that could be a potential legal situation? My homeowner's insurance was one of the first things that came to mind. I own a home. What would happen? I mean, just think about this. What would happen if somebody came to my home and they fell down and injured themselves? What am I liable for? What am I responsible for? What will my insurance cover? How am I protected? I needed to have my law firm review my homeowner's insurance policy and talk to me about, do I have the right coverage? Do I understand my coverage? The same way with my car insurance. The same way with any other potential contracts or documents that I had in my home. All of a sudden they became something that was like, I could not wait to have the attorney review it. But then also anything else that just in my mind, like I said, it just didn't feel right or it didn't sound right. I was picking up that phone and saying, hey, listen, I don't know if this is a legal situation. I just know I'm upset about this situation. And they'd say, well, Melissa, give me a description. And I would have the law firm call me back. And sometimes, honestly, they'd say, well, you know what? That's not really a legal situation. But I understand how you feel it possibly could have been. But if things change, Melissa, call me back. But this is what I learned in that process. I learned the empowerment of having this in the palm of my hands. I learned the empowerment of being able to tap an app. I learned the empowerment of being able to have an attorney call me back for a $20 situation. I learned the empowerment of demanding through our process with the service level standards, the attorney to call me back within a certain amount of time, right? And so what happens when you get that feeling, people don't just hear what you say. People feel what you say. And understanding this team, that a sale is nothing more than a transference of belief. So the more you get to use it, the more you can actually have people feel you when you say it. And you'll be able to relate more of the day-to-day stories about being proactive and preventive. Okay? I try to stay away from the 25% discount stories, honestly, because that's probably one of those reactive and defensive situations that they're thinking that this is what it would be for if they put it on a shelf. Okay, just to be honest with you. The other thing that is really critical for retention is understanding that we are the disruptor in the legal system. Prior to you being involved in this company, you think about what would you do or have to do if you had to use an attorney yourself. You'd have to find the type of attorney that you need. You'd have to qualify which one you want to use. You know, do I get the one with the big ad because they're the best? Do I get the one with the smallest ad because they're going to be the cheapest, right? You know, do I have the type of attorney I need? It is a complicated, frustrating process. And then you think about, okay, now I have to set an appointment. I have to take time out of my life to figure that out. go down there and visit with him while he turns on an egg timer. So I better have all my bullets quick, right? And so it really deters people from using the legal system. Even if they could afford it, it's frustrating. So what you have to do and get really good at is teaching your members our process, teaching them convenience, teaching them the usage so that they say, wow, I can do that. So one of the things that's really great with having our app is always telling people where you have access to your phone, you have access to your firm. Anytime you have a question and concern, you don't have to worry about disrupting your life. We have a disruptive model that actually allows you to simply pick up the phone, tap the app, and anywhere you have this, if they call you back, you can talk to them. Now, this is really important because we're not disrupting their life. We disrupted the system that didn't allow us to be part of that system, right? And so if you're not teaching them, almost like what I like to say, if you're not painting a picture where they say, I can see myself doing that. I can see myself having a question and tapping the app and saying I need advice on, and having the attorney call me back when I have my phone in my hand. I can see being able to go ahead and, tap the app and send over a ticket. Wow, how simple and how convenient that is for me and my family, right? So paint the picture of them using it, teaching the process, the simplicity, the convenience. Also, understand your service level agreements, your service level standards. Understand that you should be telling people like, hey, Elizabeth, you know what the great part about this is? When you call your law firm, they're contracted, they're obligated to call you back in 4 business hours. Now imagine that, a world where you demand a callback from a top quality law firm in 4 business hours. They will write letters or make phone calls in 3 business days for you. And look, Elizabeth, I know you want to have your estate in order for your family. And we're going to do that within 5 business days. So the sooner you pick up the phone and tap the app, the sooner we can get this done for you. Right? Teach them that part, okay? It's important for them to understand. Corey said, I missed the last part. Access to your phone, you have access to your firm, Corey, is what I was saying, okay? So I'm going to stop there for a second because I also want to talk to you about some pre-cancel things. But I wanted to really set the stage, Elizabeth, with, start with the end in mind, set realistic expectations, right? Also, talk to them about it not being a shelf product. It's for day-to-day life. It's about being more proactive and preventive and engaged in life so that you never have to be reactive and defensive, right? And teach the process, teach the usage, teach the convenience so people say, I can do that. It's not complicated. I really have the power in the palm of my hands, okay? So I'm going to stop there for a minute, Elizabeth, to see if you have any questions for me before I go into pre-cancel.
Fabulous information. I've already got a page full of notes. I don't have any questions. You're just getting a lot of praise over here in the group chat. So I don't see any questions. So keep going. If anybody has a question, y'all type it in the chat feature, and we'll get Melissa to cover it a little later. Okay, Alicia, you have a question? Go ahead and type it in, and we'll get her to circle back unless you're going to post it quickly. She'll just keep going. Oh, Alicia's asking, how do you handle 911 situations when you get those calls, Melissa?
That's a really good question, Alicia. And once again, understanding that when I'm talking family, I'm talking from 20 years of experience, which also means 20 years of failure to get the experience, okay? And believe me, at the beginning, I used to take all memberships. I don't care what it was, all calls, all memberships. They needed us. This is how I was thinking. And yeah, no, it's not good. It's not good for your retention. And we know that our retention is a huge factor in our residual, right? And so, it's about the confidence. It's about the posture. And so, the way I look at 911, if someone called me and said, Melissa, are you still doing that legal thing? right? Because I've talked to them before. They just weren't interested, but life moved on them. And now they've got this reactive defensive situation, which to me, if they would have had us prior to that, honestly, Elizabeth, we probably could have kept them in the proactive preventive, but they've got themselves into a corner. Now they need us. So my whole thing would be, Alicia, is to say, well, you know, what's going on in your life? And let's just say it was a divorce. I don't know what it is. Okay. Let's just say it's a divorce. And I'd say, well, you know, first of all, I'm sorry that you're, you know, obviously you're going through this life experience. You know, I hate to hear that happen to anybody. Listen, if you can give me a few minutes, I can't remember if I've told you before about the product, if I had a chance to really explain it to you, but it's important for me to explain the value of the product to your circumstance for usage, but your continued circumstance after this situation is solved, okay? Because we don't just help you solve this type of situation. We help empower you for life, okay? So let's go back to saying, okay, it was a divorce. I'd say, well, the first thing that you're going to do is be able to pick up the phone and tap the app and simply say, and by the way, I want all of you to write this down, I need advice on. Never call in and say, I need advice for, or no, sorry, I never call in and say, I need an attorney, because that goes into the 25%. So I always teach my members, call in and say, I need advice on. So if that person was saying they wanted a divorce, I'd say, well, the first thing that you're going to do as a member of Legal Shield is pick up the phone, tap the app, and simply say, I need advice on a divorce. You probably don't know what all your rights are in this situation, okay? And so the first thing you want to know is, what are your rights? What you should do, or what you shouldn't do. How do you proceed with things? What are things you should be aware of? What I'm trying to do is get them to understand the true value of consultation before even referring them out, okay? And then after the discussion with your attorney, if they feel in discussion with you, in your best interest is to get an attorney in regards to your divorce situation, we pre-screen, we pre-qualify that attorney and give you a member discount, a very generous member discount, 25%. Now listen, you may not, remember setting expectations, you may not get the cheapest, but I guarantee you this, you'll get one of the best for a less price. And I know when it comes to your legal situations, especially one like this, you don't just want the cheapest, you want the best for less. And that's what we're gonna give you. Now, what I want you to understand though, is after the situation happens, that won't be the last of wanting to know what your rights are in this divorce situation or future forward. Especially if there are kids attached to that divorce, of course, right? You may want to know about child custody and support and visitation. And so I always make sure they understand the true value. Otherwise, if they say, no, I just really want to for a divorce, I'd say, well, you know what? That's what the traditional legal system is for. If you ever change your mind, call me back. I'm here.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mm.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Now, let's talk about pre-cancels for a little bit, because you really need to start really paying attention to the pre-cancels for a few reasons. Number one, once again, it affects our persistency. But number two, we may be doing something wrong. We may be doing something wrong. I never look at it as the member. I look at it as me. This is just how I see it. So here's some scenarios of why you're getting the pre-cancels. It's going to be they've never used it. It's going to be they used it and the service didn't work. Or it's going to be they didn't even know they were in pre-cancel because their card expired. Okay. I almost handle all of them in the same manner. So let's just say Elizabeth called me though, and she says, Melissa, you know, I want to cancel the membership. The last thing I want to do is go into sales mode again. Okay. What I want to go into is understanding mode. I want to understand why Elizabeth wants to cancel. Okay. So I'd say, well, Elizabeth, I am so sorry to hear that. I know when we were together, you saw value in the membership. May I ask you, what has caused you to change your mind? That's always my question. I always say, when we were together, I know you saw value in this membership, but Elizabeth, can I ask you, what has caused you to change your mind? And this is when you're going to do your fact finding for hopefully the retention of the membership, but also for your growth and development and understanding how to never maybe potentially make a mistake again. At the beginning, I was getting a lot of well, the service isn't working. And I would listen to them walk me through their scenario if the service wasn't working. And I realized I maybe oversold the product. So if she said, well, Melissa, I used the service and it didn't work, I'd say, well, Elizabeth, I am extremely sorry to hear that. We've been in business for over 45 years. We're very proud to serve over 4.5 million lives with our services. And so we strive, obviously, to give quality service to maintain our running rates, right? And even increase from there. So can I ask you to kind of describe to me what happened? Because one of the things that I get excited about is I have the ability to actually report anything that is not right when it comes to actually servicing our member. And if it happened to you, it could happen to another member. So could you please just tell me what happened so I could report it? And when you ask somebody that way, I guarantee you they'll tell you. Now listen, when she starts telling me how the service didn't work for her, when she starts going through it, I don't go, well, but. No, I let her get it out. Because sometimes we almost want to get combative or defensive about our company. We want to stand up for our service and our company. No, it's her moment. Let her get it out. And when she's done, that's when I have to assess, holy crap, she actually thought this family plan helped her business. I messed up, right? And that's when I would have to go into real apology mode. Like, Elizabeth, I am so sorry. I did not possibly explain to you that this plan is truly for a family situation. We do have business plans. I'd love to share with you how those business plans work, but I'm going to take full responsibility for the fact that you thought it did something it didn't do. And that's a learning lesson for me, family. We have to listen. Sometimes we have to understand it's not sometimes just about what we say, sometimes it's about what we don't say that they're thinking. The second thing though is, and this happens a lot, is the service worked, but guess what? Her expectations of what was going to happen didn't happen for her. And so that's where I was talking about at the beginning for myself. Like, what? This happened? What? Okay, so if she's told me that, hey, I called the law firm, they wrote a letter, but nothing ever happened from it, and she's on and on and on about it. And I'd say, well, Elizabeth, I said, with all due respect, I want to kind of recap this so I have it right so I can send it to my corporate office. So you called the law firm. Now, did the law firm call you back within a timely manner? Did they call you back within 4 business hours? She says, well, yeah, they did. They called me. That's okay. Were you able to get some advice for them about your situation? Yes, Melissa, they did. Okay. Now, they wrote a letter on your behalf as well, correct? Yes, Melissa, they did. I said, okay, perfect. Now, unfortunately, that other party didn't respond though, right? Or the other party responded and you didn't get the answer you wanted to hear, correct? So I'm trying to remind her of, we did exactly what we said we were going to do. We gave you the consultation. We wrote a letter, or we reviewed your contract, whatever it was. And I'd say, now listen, Elizabeth, I'm going to say this with sincere sensitivity, because I've been here. We did exactly what the service was supposed to do. We did talk to you about your rights. We did write a letter to try to act on it. We did review your contract, whatever the case is. But unfortunately, you got an outcome you weren't prepared for or you weren't happy with. And believe me, I have been there. Sometimes the law is just not logical. The law is just the law. But I can say this to you, Elizabeth. Aren't you glad that you only paid $24.95 to get that answer or that situation, right, happen, as opposed to paying $250 an hour? Because the legal outcome would have been the legal outcome with or without us. It's just that you only paid $24.95 versus $250 an hour. So I hope you understand that, unfortunately, it's a frustrating situation, but we did service you the best of our ability, right? We did service you based on our contract. And usually, family, what I get is this. I know, Melissa, I know, but it's just so frustrating, and I was just so upset. And I'm like, oh, I know. And I've actually sometimes shared my story about, listen, I've been with the company X amount of years, and that happened to me, and I tried to throw out my titles, and it didn't change the law for me either, right? And so then we kind of laugh. And you know what? Most of the time, not always, most of the time they're like, I get it. I get it. And they don't cancel. But it's just, I had to be there for them to vent and kind of realign their expectations, right? And then we do have the ones, though, unfortunately, that when they call and they tell you their story, we failed. Because, I'm sorry, attorneys are human. Ask Miss Gardner. She's married to one, right? And so, being that said, can we mess up? Yes. Sometimes we forget to dot the I's and cross the T's. So it is your obligation to say, you know, with all sincerity, Elizabeth, listen, I apologize that happened to you. You are correct. You are right to be frustrated. We have failed you, and I apologize for that. I'm going to send this over to my corporate office to have somebody reach out to you so that we ensure that our attorneys know exactly how our members are to be treated. I hope you'll reconsider, listen to me closely, I hope you'll reconsider either staying with us as a member or potentially coming back to us in the near future. I'm always here to serve you. And I can't tell you how many times, family, just by saying that, I've had them say, you know what, Melissa, I get it. You're right. Sometimes people just mess up. I don't want to cancel. And then some people are like, no, never again. They hang up. Okay. It just happens, but at least you know you've done your job. Now, the other thing, though, is what you're going to hear is, I haven't used it. 66% of our cancellations are due to non-usage, okay? So that's why it's critical for us to get them to use it at the beginning. So if Elizabeth called me and she said, you know what, Miss Wilder, I'm sorry, but I want to cancel. I'm going to go back to my same question. Elizabeth, I am so sorry to hear that. I know when we were together, you saw value in this. What has caused you to change your mind? And she says, well, I haven't used it. Oh my goodness. You know what, Elizabeth, I feel really bad because honestly, I believe if I would have done a better job of explaining to you how the services work, the very day you got the membership, you would have gotten your estate in order. Listen, you've already prepaid to have your affairs in order, your will, your living will, your healthcare power of attorney. Listen, before we go through with your cancellation, let's go ahead and take advantage of what you've already prepaid for. Do you already have access to that will questionnaire I left you? Or can you have access to your app where we can start the process here? Because the sooner we can get that done, Ms. Gardner, the great thing about this is we'll prepare your estate in 5 business days. Your will, your living will, your healthcare power of attorney, your financial power of attorney. And at the end of those 5 business days, when you get your affairs back, your documentations back to you, and of course you get them notarized and filed, if you still want to cancel at that time, you simply call me back and I'll help you with that process. Fair enough? Now listen, 98% of the time, they never call me back. Now they've used it, they understand the simplicity, they understand the power, they've gotten their estate done. I won. I won because I got my member to understand the usage and the process and the empowerment, right? And I never went back into sales mode, right? I stayed in the understanding mode and the teaching mode in that process. Because remember, our wills, our estate planning is not about you dying or about you passing. It's about the living. So I'd say to Elizabeth, listen, I know sometimes it can be scary. It's not about you dying. It's about the living. It's about your family and leaving your wishes. I'm telling you, when you connect to people that way, it's totally, totally different. So I'm hoping that these things are helping you.
Melissa, you pause. I'll tell you, I have saved more memberships with that one thing for non-usage. Hey, listen, you've already had it 3 months, 6 months, a year. Let's go ahead and get this done
Yes.
before you cancel. And of course, the interaction with the law firm is positive because they're getting their estate in order, and then they never cancel. It's like it just is the thing that they finally figure out what value they have because they finally had an interaction with the law firm.
There you
I've
go.
saved more memberships because of non-usage with the estate planning than anything else that I've ever tried. So yeah,
Yes.
brilliant stuff.
Well, and the other thing, Elizabeth, a lot of times when we're in just the conversation with our potential or new members, and they hear Legal Shield, they start throwing like, well, what about that? And what about, like, they throw these legal questions at you, right? Or scenarios of, and, I let them know, listen, I'm not an attorney. I don't even pretend to play one on TV. So what I want you to do is I want you to jot down that thought or that question. That's going to be the first question that you're going to pick up the phone and say, I need advice on. So every time someone brings up a legal situation, all they're doing, anytime they bring up a legal question or legal situation, all they're doing is reinforcing the need for them to have this membership. And you've got to keep taking them back there every time they bring it up. I mean, my gosh, I'm now in my life, in my posture with this company in the service, that if I hear anyone talk about anything legal related, I'd be like, and I see Nick Odom on the screen, hey Nick, I would be like this. If I heard Nick just eavesdropping and I hear Nick saying something that I know we could have helped him with, I'd have been like, well, sir, excuse me, I don't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard what you said. Why didn't you just tap your app and ask your firm? And people are like, what? I'm like, you don't have the Legal Shield app? I thought everybody had the Legal Shield app. Like, it's like, to me, it's almost like that posture of, you're weird, not me. You're the one that's supposed to have this app. Everybody has this app, right? And so that has gotten me more engagement and conversation, just listening and saying, well, sir, I'm sorry, but why don't you just tap your app? Why are you frustrated about that? Just tap the app. And they're like, what app? What do you have that I don't have, right? So just, always keep your antennas up. Keep your eyes and your ears open. Keep your heart open. I mean, really, people, keep your heart open. I'm telling you, they will fill your heart with their stories and the empowerment. So that's really all I had in my notes for tonight, Elizabeth. So I don't know if there's a few questions I can answer for anybody or.
No, but I think we got a lot of people from Ohio who are very excited about this weekend of you being up there. Yeah, Corey's saying you are Planet Awesomeness. Yes, she is, Corey. Absolutely. I don't see any questions. I think everybody is just saying, wow, wow, wow. Just this is the great stuff. I mean, you're such a phenomenal trainer. You've been doing this so long, and your posture is so phenomenal. And I think that's what people are learning is don't be afraid to have a conversation with someone who is teetering. Don't be afraid to re-engage and have what you believe to be a tough conversation. But Melissa, I've really never talked to anybody. Yes, I have had a member who might want to vent, but I've never talked to anybody who was really ugly to me or didn't have a civil conversation. They may have wanted to tell me what happened and they wanted somebody to really listen.
Exactly.
But beyond that, it's, I didn't know my credit, or it's, that credit card got stolen, they replaced it. I had even forgotten I had Legal Shield on that. What do I need to do? It's sometimes, but it's our fear of not being afraid of what the other end of the phone call is going to look like, that we don't pick up, make those calls to our pre-cancels. And guys, y'all get emails, your pre-cancels every Wednesday. If you've got anybody in pre-cancel, but making that call is so important to the member, but also so important to your business long term. As Melissa said, the reason she sold 10,000 memberships is because she was willing to learn. And I was laughing, I think, with Vic and Michelle the other day. and we were talking about, when Vic and Michelle Hendricks, that are on the call tonight, and it was like, we were laughing, going, listen, we all did it wrong in the beginning.
Oh my God.
The whole point is to not keep doing it wrong, to actually get better as you stay here. Just get better. Right. We all said crazy stuff in the beginning because we just didn't know. And so, but when you know better, you have to do better. And the goal is to know better, to do better selling the next membership than you did selling the last membership.
Absolutely. Yeah. Honestly, I believe that the first couple months I was in this business that I sold memberships in, I truly believe that people bought it because they felt sorry for me. Like, somebody please buy it because she's going to starve to death. Like, really, like, but there is one thing left that you said that triggered a thought, is I know you have a team of B2B people. And so I want to bring this up for the B2B people on the call, okay? When you sell a business plan, first and foremost, teach all the authorized users how to use it, not just the business owner. Like if it's a business owner and the HR director, I'm going to teach all of them how to use it, first and foremost. Because honestly, sometimes the other users will use it more than the business owner, okay? But the other thing is, when you go through your pre-cancel, look for franchise numbers, which for those of you that don't do group, that's the group number that we attach to a membership, okay? If you see multiple franchise numbers, like if I look at a small group and I see 2 or 3 pre-cancels, I'm worried. I'm worried something's going on with that company. So if that was Elizabeth's company, I'd call Elizabeth, say, hey, Elizabeth, it's Melissa with Legal Shield. Listen, I noticed that there's 2 pre-cancels on the account, and I wanted to check in with you. I hope your business is going well. I hope you're not laying off, and this might be one of the reasons. Or is there anything going on that I should be aware of? The reason why I did this, for years did this, is because I have one account I didn't pay attention to the pattern on. And what happened is one of the ladies used it. She didn't like the outcome. She told all her coworkers about the situation, and I didn't have a chance to go in and resolve it, okay? And the whole group canceled. If I would have knew ahead of time, I could have come in, I could have talked to her, I could have talked to Elizabeth as the owner or the HR, whatever, understood the circumstance and shut it down before it became a cancer in that group. So if you're doing solutions business every week, every Wednesday, look for the franchise numbers and see if there's any pattern. And if there is, check on that account quick. Because remember, they have the relationship with their peers. We don't. Okay? So I don't know what made me think of that. You said something that triggered it, Elizabeth, so I wanted to throw that in there.
I don't know. But anyway, we so appreciate you being on here with us tonight. It's so valuable to understand how powerful our product is, how to sell it properly, how to communicate with people. As you said, when you're going, especially in the pre-cancel, don't go back into sales mode. Don't go back into convince mode. Go into listen mode, understand mode.
Yes.
I mean, that's just so critical, which is why I wanted you on here tonight, because you always do such a fabulous job. And I so appreciate you giving us your time. I know Ohio, as I said, is extremely excited about you being there this weekend in just a couple of days. I think you're going tomorrow, aren't you?
I'm going out tomorrow evening. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think you head out up there tomorrow. So, yes. So everybody in that Ohio marketplace, plug in, because you'll have a phenomenal event this weekend. But thank you so much. We're gonna move on to our book review. But thank you, Melissa. And we'll talk soon, I'm sure. I'll see you Sunday, if not before.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, thanks, bye. All right, so how phenomenal was that, team? She just does such a great job. And, when you sold 10,000 memberships, you know what you're doing. And so for those of us who haven't sold 10,000 memberships, we get to hear from her, learn from her, and not have to go through the 10,000 to get those skills that she has. We can just take really good notes. And I know somebody posted, I think April posted, this is one of those trainings you go back to and you listen to again and again and again, and you take more notes, and you implement those so you get better at selling more memberships. And then you have more residual income. That the whole goal here, do the work once, get paid over and over and over again. Well, if we do the work right once, we're going to get paid more and more and more as time goes on. So that's why trainings like this are just so important for what we do. So let's move on to our book review. I believe we have Mr. Eddie Smith who's going to do our book review tonight. And Mr. Smith, I'm not sure where you are. If you could unmute yourself, sir, and speak up, that would be awesome. I'm looking for.
Okay, can you hear me?
There he is. Yes, sir. Mr. Eddie Smith out of the Charleston, South Carolina market, our regional manager down there. He and his beautiful wife do such a phenomenal job. One of the ring earners on the team. Mr. Smith, I'm going to turn the call over to you.
Very good. Thank you very much. It's been a phenomenal call thus far. Ms. Wild was just I'll tell you, a wealth of knowledge. I've watched her from afar for a long time. But the book is The Power of Five by Mr. John Maxwell. Phenomenal book, and he's written others. And I'm going to read real brief in this, and it's a call to leadership tonight, though, and that's what it's about. And when I say call to leadership, because the power of five, I think if the leaders heed what we're talking about and what John Maxwell talks about, we're in the fourth quarter in terms of our business right now. We're moving into the end of the year. I think we can move the needle drastically if our leadership take over. And we got phenomenal leaders just like you are, of course, and Mr. Godley and the Cohens, but we got others in the field who say they're leaders, but they got their thumb in their mouth, I think, sucking on it. I'm telling you, you need to pull it out. Let's talk about what the power of five is. John Maxwell talks about it in a sense where, everything's in a series of five. And what he starts off with, as far as I was concerned in the book that really was dramatic to me, is if you had a tree in your yard and you went out every day and you had an axe, and you 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. You put the axe down. The next day you come out. You come out and you hit it 5 times. Eventually you do that every day. Well, the obvious thing would happen. That tree is going to fall. But what we do is a lot of us are not doing any series of 5. We're not doing a series of anything. We're just all over the place. And so he talks about if you do a series of 5, whatever we're doing over time, it's going to make a difference. I've always been told, you sow an activity and eventually you'll reap that habit. And that's what we're trying to do, reap some good habits. Let's talk about 5 that I think that definitely applies to us in the legal show business and the organization. And one of those 5s is every day we need to read 15 minutes a day or listen to something positive every day because we want to change. We want to become better. That's the first thing. The second thing is every day we talk about doing 2 to 5 exposures. That's the way we move the needle in our business, by getting this in front of new people and the information in front of new people. Third, every day, and Mr. Gardner talks about it all the time, we plan today for tomorrow. We already know what we're going to do when we wake up, but we need to plan that. 4, we start every day the right way. And what does that mean? We don't get up, turn on the television, catch the news. We want to do those activities that's going to achieve those goals and dreams we have for ourselves. You see, dreams are free, but guess what? The journey isn't. So we got to do those activities and those things to help us acquire that dream. And last, I think, is every week we need to attend either a briefing or luncheon. We need to be at a live event if there's one in our area consistently. And those are 5 things that I think are very important that I got from Mr. Maxwell in terms of us and our business. Now, he breaks out a little bit different, and I'm going to be real brief with this. He got 5 things that he says are important. One of those is you need to determine your position, your level. And that could be an associate. That could be, I don't care what level you are in the business, but you need to know where you are. Because now you're trying to define who you are to be able to move to something different. But if you don't know where you are, how can you move one way or another? The second thing he talks about is permission. That's the relationship side of what we're doing. You start to develop relationships in that position of permission. You're getting people to listen to you. You listen to them, but you're learning how to serve. Because, again, when you're dealing with people, we're learning to develop an attitude of service. 3, he's talking about production level. That's where you're getting results. We're out making the thing happen, either marketing the membership. We're doing what we do to get it to that next level. And I refer to it as a travel agent or a tour guide. The travel agent is telling folks where to go and the good time they're going to have. but the tour guide is actually taking you by the hand and showing you and taking you. So we want to be tour guides in our business at that production level. 4, people development level. This is huge. We're in the people business, and you got to pour a lot into yourself to learn some skill sets if you're going to build a big business yet. Successful people tend to determine, what they're good at. Successful leaders determine what others are good at. And it's easy to do. There are 5 steps to that. 1, I do it, John Maxwell said. 2nd, I do it, and I take you with me. So you see what I do. 3rd, I have you do it, and I'm with you this time. 4, you do it, and guess what? You don't need me to do it with you anymore. And finally, you do it and you take someone with you. We talk about teaching teachers to teach teachers to teach. That's all we're doing. We set an example. So the people development side of what he's talking about is huge, and that's number 4. And 5 is the pinnacle level. Very rarely do a lot of people get to this level where you get to that level of respect where you've done the deed long enough, you got the proof to show it that, the fruit is on the tree. And so you got the respect of others. They follow you with, just blind following because they know you've done what it took to get to where they're trying to get to and where you're going. And we got that with the Coins and with the Gardeners. You've already set the example. You're doing the thing already. And so for me, I'm saying this is a call to leadership. I want our leaders to kind of let's pull it out this 4th quarter. Let's get busy. Take an examination of your team. See what they are. See what position level each of your folks are. Pick 5 people out that you want to work with. And we want to help those people, especially in this last 4th quarter, to get to whatever level it is that they want to get to and whatever level you yourself would like to get to. And I'm just going to leave with this. And I say it's another last 5. Know what you want to accomplish. Have the right tool to accomplish it. Stay focused. Take action. Be consistent. I'm Eddie Smith, my wife Dee Dee, and we're just getting started. Back to you.
Fantastic, Eddie Smith. That is a powerful book, and you brought it to life. So thank you so much for doing that phenomenal book review. Listen, it's a small book, so we're only on the 13th day of the month, whatever today is, 13th, 14th. I've lost count. So go ahead and get it. You certainly can finish it by the end of the month, but it is a great book, and reading that is what's going to change your life. I want to run through our October results here because we had such a great October. Starting off with our recruiting numbers, we have a ton of people tied for number 2. Number 2 in recruiting tied. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people tied for number 2. It's Miss Pamela Smith, Kimberly Kitchens, Elliot McDowell, Marlene Profate, let's see, Tiffany Hair Designs, Dee Dee Smith, Mr. Eddie Smith, you just heard from him, Katrina White, Belinda Middleton, Rob and April Hurst, all tied for number 2. Congratulations to you all. And we had 2 people tied for number 1, Mr. Bernard Gaddis and Miss Ashley Chaching, which of course is one of our new just rank advance to a new rank this past month. I mean, what a phenomenal job. Now let's look to our production numbers. Top 10, number 10, Miss Mara Alexandru. See her beautiful face on here tonight. Number 9, Heather Sudbrock, is number 9. Number 8, Wanisha Madsey is number 8. Number 7, Michael Johnson, saw him on here tonight as well. Number 6, Lois Relkeld and Amy Yoshimitsu. Number 5, Mr. John Hall. Number 4, Nicole Maciano. Number 3, Mr. Kalen Blanchard. Number 2 is Steve Petit out of California. And number 1, Miss Pamela Smith, Bronze Executive Director out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Congratulations to all of you. Now, our rank advancements for the end of the month of October. These are just the last few days of October. Essence Wolf, new senior associate. Elia McDowell, also a senior associate. Katrina White, senior associate. Valerie Des Mangles is a senior associate. Sherrod Daniels, senior associate. Daisy Ruffin, Christopher Bay, Winter Brown, um, Michelle Howard, Robinette Clark, and Lisa Randolph, all senior associates. But of course, we have a ton of new managers as well. Wanisha Madsey, a manager. Heather Sudbrock is also a manager. Oh gosh, I'm going to mess up your name and I apologize. Aminawari Salinas is a new manager. Apologize about that. Beverly Moore, Darlene Carson, Kimberly Kitchens, Edgar Knox, Marlene Profate, Ronald Strange, George Wingate, Nicole Marciano again, manager, and Ulysses Willingham, a manager. New senior manager, Tracy Foyles. New director, Mackenzie Cantrell. New senior director, Kat Joseph. New executive director, Asha Saching. And new bronze executive director. We heard from her and her entire team last week or the week before, I can't remember now, Miss Ariel Simone. Congratulations, woohoo, to all of you for your rank advancements over just the last week of October. That is phenomenal. Everybody's doing such a great job. It is 10 o'clock. I appreciate all of you hanging in here. I think, listen, if we just take what we learned tonight, what a phenomenal future we will have for ourselves. You know, it's all about taking what you learned, implementing what you've learned. So anybody who's got any pre-cancels, test out what you learned tonight. If you're going to go talk to somebody who's you're going to sell a membership to, test out some of the tips and tools that she gave you. Start implementing them as soon as you learn them, and that's how they literally take root in your business and explode your business long term. I mean, you're talking to Melissa Wilder, $300,000 ring earner, 10,000 memberships on the books. She has got a residual income that she has built over the last couple of decades that is untouchable. It's pretty amazing what she's done. And so just appreciate each and every one of you, Mr. Eddie Smith, for doing such a phenomenal job. Ms. Falana Williams-Jones, thank you for welcoming everybody with your happy self this evening. I always appreciate you and each and every one of you. Y'all have a phenomenal night. Great to see you all. And we'll be talking to you soon. Good night, everybody.